Your Worship, thank you so much for giving us this time to talk to you. We just want to rush into it. What has been the work of a mayor since your inauguration in December last year? What are the successes and what are the challenges?
Well, the success is that we dealt with the cholera epidemic, we dealt with COVID. Regrettably, there were some lives lost, but not as much as happened in other cities and in other countries. We dealt with certain levels of service delivery in relation to water, not as much as we could. We have had some road repairs, especially to the eastern suburbs, northern suburbs. We have had some excellent work around the roads. We hosted the SADC Summit, we hosted cricket teams, rugby teams, and Rufaro was opened. As you know, Premier League soccer was now being played in Bulawayo, but now Premier League soccer is being played in Harare. So those are some of the things that we feel have been achievements. Of course, there are certain pain points. The pain points have been, one of the biggest pain point is water. There's not enough water going to the residents. The second pain point is refuse collection, waste management, both solid and sewer. Waste is not being collected as efficiently as it should, and the liquid waste is not moving away as quickly and efficiently as it should. Issues of roads, and then issues of street lighting, and issues around billing. As it were, we have been sabotaged by PRAS at every turn, and we are still struggling from August to August just to get the billing going.
Well done for the job. Job well done for all the successes that you have recorded. But I just want to make a follow-up on the cholera issue. Why is Zimbabwe, or Harare in particular, still experiencing this medieval disease?
Well, it's not particular to Harare. It was in Malawi, it was in South Africa, it was in Zambia, it was in Mozambique. It killed more people in South Africa, killed more people in Malawi, in Zambia, and in Mozambique. I think the issues are around water reticulation, the issue of potable water. Basically, once people drink from a contaminated source, you get cholera. There are no two ways about it. But then we have intercity trade. Zimbabweans go to buy purchases every weekend in Malawi, in Zambia, in Mozambique, and South Africa. And our traveling public has become somewhat of a hotspot. And that's why you find cholera just erupts sometimes where you least expect it and from region. But if you track it, because we've got a very efficient tracing program that we used for COVID, which we've maintained as a city council. So we normally trace the people whom you have had come into contact to, and where you got it and how you got it. You'll find the last one, except for the Paddocks area, where there was land invasions in that area. They invaded in a land where we did our sewer. You'll find that many of the cases were intercity travel.
So what are the plans maybe to protect Harare when cholera hits again?
What we do is prevention is always better than cure. We do have we need to increase the amount of potable water so that people do not take water from untreated sources or areas where they is susceptible to cholera. The repair of our pipings, the ferrying of liquid sewer, dealing with waste, and so forth. And those are the issues that we need to deal with. And then, of course, we've got a robust treatment center. We've got mobile clinics at Beatrice. We've got the expertise. That's why you'll find that we had a very huge success rate in terms of treatment after cholera of people. And then knowledge. In the old days, people would rush to bring in a impostor or a faith healer when someone got cholera. But now everybody's aware that once you get a diarrheal disease, you go to the nearest cancer clinic. You don't wait singing and praying until the person dies. People now know that if you get the symptoms, rush to a cancer clinic, and the clinics there have got a protocol that they do. Once they suspect you've got the disease, you're quickly treated and taken to places where you can get help.
Fantastic. You spoke about you hosting successfully the SADC Summit, and how much, in terms of roads, we are seeing, honestly, in some parts of the city, nice roads, but also there are some neglected areas, especially the high densities, the woody roads and so forth. They were not attended. But I just want you to comment. There was an article a couple of days ago that says government spent $1.7 billion, because you were also part of preparing.
No, I think that has since been corrected. It was a misprint.
But okay.
There's no way that they could have spent 1.6 billion.
How much was spent?
Dollars. I think the correction was that it's something over 88 million to 100 million US dollars on the roads within the city of Harare. I don't know about the highways and other roads. I think part of it is that it then carries it then carries because of the multiplier effect of social media, and probably these days there's so much mistrust that people tend to want to believe the West instead of doing corrective journalism or corrective processes. I think if people had taken time to go back to the ministry and ask them to say, look, can you clarify on these figures, they would have gotten the clarity. But the clarity, bad news travels faster than
good news,
than correct news. So there wasn't. As for me, I'm as the city father, I'm quite satisfied with the work that was done on the roads, and we worked on a number of high density areas. We worked on Kickman, and then we worked on the link from Sanganai to Bulawayo. That is the main artery for the old DZ. We then also worked on the road from Warren Park to Kambuzuma. That has been done. So we are then going to move to Mfakosi, Kuwadzana, Highfields, and High Glen is being worked on as part of...
Are we still going to see the hype now, since the SADC Summit is gone?
Yes, we want to push for the hype. Certainly for the citizens of Harare, I'm going to be on the neck of government. We are the goose that lays the golden egg, and they must make it comfortable to live in Harare. We must keep investing in Harare. If we invest in Harare, it's a multiplier effect. Once Harare is efficient, more money goes to the other provinces and to the whole economy at large. So we have to make Harare efficient. The key of our economy, the whole of the economy is handled by Harare. And therefore, once Harare's economy grows, the GDP of Harare grows, it takes the rest, it pulls the rest of the country along.
Mayor, I want you to maybe address this. There was a point when the government says we are taking over the affairs of the city because we want the SADC to be, to meet the standards that we want to make sure that things move efficiently. I know it may not be important, but what role did the city of Harare play in terms of the development that we are seeing in the city today?
Yeah, well, we are obviously... when a road is being made, we set the standards. You see, neither government nor the city are the contractors. Okay, so we supervise the contractors together
as the government.
As a government, the government brings in the money, which they are taking anyway from the motorists of Harare, and we're putting elsewhere to game parks and other areas. But now they were not taking over. They were bringing back the money where it ought to be. The Hararian citizens pay the bulk of the money. So you can't say to the Harare citizens, who is giving you most of the money, we are now taking over. Maybe it's English. The issue they are now bringing back money to the person who has been paying the money, and finding so many words to describe a very simple process. The motorist of Harare pays the bulk of the taxes, pays the bulk of the money that goes to Sinara, and works for the economy. And once you save him, you're not bringing anything back. you're just doing what you ought to do with the money of the Harare citizens. Then the city of Harare comes in to look at the standards, to do the works. There are a lot of pipes under the roads. There are a lot of servitudes under the roads. Pipes for sewer, pipes for water. We were renewing them, repairing them, and making sure everything went as efficiently as it ought to be.
You seem to be very committed in terms of really making changes in the city affairs. What do you make of the commission of inquiry which was set by the president, which is in motion right now, which is working right now with regards to the most disturbing historical mark on the city of Harare, the issue of corruption? What do you make of that commission and its work so far?
It's very important. I also want to know what was happening in Harare since 2017. I was not a councillor then. So everyone in the country wants to know what was happening. And of course, the things that get into the media are the things that affect people who are there today. But from my reading of what the commission is doing, it's coming from 2017. Yes, the work that it is doing on those areas does not make the headlines because those actors have left the political field and people might not know who they are. But their work, the importance of their work will be in the detail. If you look at their terms of reference and the tenure, see the reporting makes it as if the commission has replaced ZAC or has replaced the police. It's not that. It is there to look into the issues. It then looks at reforms, looks at things that need to be done, suggests reforms to the constitution, comes to the laws, to the practices even, and the personnel of council. That is where it is important. It is not an alternative police force to the current police work. If there's a crime, it's an easier thing to do. You just deal with that crime. But when you set up a commission, what you are saying is that let's look in detail. Let's have a 360-degree analysis of what could have possibly happened with the council of Harare and what recommendations can we bring. And I think the most important recommendations for me are not the ones where they identify someone who has stolen maybe this stand or that money or that thing. It's the institutional reforms that will come out of the commission. So
the period is really fine. 2017 may be up to date. But there's also another issue. I think a week ago, there was a story in the Newsday that in the Herald that said your council has blown $11 million in workshops under your stewardship. What's your comment on that?
No, that got lost in translation and in figures. As you know, there are very few mathematicians that make it to the newsroom or accountants that make it to the newsroom, and even various areas that are there. If you look at the figures in detail, firstly, we as a council do not even have that kind of money. We don't have 11 million.
So how much was spent?
What was spent in council, as I said in my last council, is something close to $2 million US if you use the exchange rate at the time that it was used and you add it all up, something close to $2 million. And why is that so? At the beginning of every 5 years, there are mandatory workshops that have to be done, and those workshops are called inductions, and those inductions have to be done. Then also, if you look closely at the workshops that you did, you'll find some of the workshops that are recurrent are professional workshops, architects, surveyors, accountants, that our employees have to go to retain their licenses.
But probably the residents maybe are saying you are not being considerate when you take the Harare city for a workshop to Victoria Falls and not doing it in Harare or in Marondera.
We will have to look at the way it's done. Every city has a workshop outside the city, particularly the first workshop, which is induction, because they want to take you away from any distractions. We don't mind having the workshop in Harare. Mind you, if you look at the regulations, a councillor gets $10, 10 ZIG, not 10 ZIG, 10 RGS, 10 RTGS as lunch and as supper.
Which is now ZIG, because the RTGS no longer exists.
ZIG or whatever it is now. So, but there's no out-of-pocket allowance that a councillor gets when they move. The ones that probably get an out-of-allowance out-of-pocket allowance are the senior executives and the workers in terms of the collective bargaining agreement with the unions. So the highest one gets 200 US, 150 US, so and 100 US going down as the case may be. Those are the ones that may probably benefit more from the workshops. But
maybe can the residents be assured now that under your watch, the workshops may be contained in maybe in Harare or closer to Harare to cut costs?
We will cut costs. I've already cut costs. I've got memos that I've written that are on record. I've refused to allow certain workshops, and I've also I've kept them at the barest minimum or the essential of the workshops. And certainly the cost per month will never increase to that. What we'll also do is to reduce the numbers. Some of these workshops were invited by professional bodies who are also part of our residents. Your ZNCCs, your CZIs, your IPMZ, even journalist bodies invite us to their workshops. And because they are part and parcel of our ecosystem, we are obligated to send delegations to them, architects, developers, and so forth. And some of them are reciprocating visits, like the Trade Fair, Sanganai. Those cities would have brought delegations to Harare, and then we bring them. So it's an ecosystem. But I agree with you that we have to watch the bottom line and the cost. But I want to assure the residents that it was never $11 million US dollars. It was close to $2 million, and we have every reason. We can justify every workshop and why it happened. Granted, if people feel that, and as they feel, that the bulk of them have to be held in Harare. We've just recently held a graduation of the workers right here in Harare.
Let's go to the another section, Mayor. You have been on social media for the past week or two with regards to the Herbert Chitepo School of Ideology. People are saying you're now a Zanu PF full-blown member. Is that true?
Well, I don't know why people believe that if a Zanu PF person sits with an opposition person, immediately the opposition person has been converted. Why are people not worried about the Zanu person being converted by myself? The Herbert Chitepo is a workshop rather that Zanu PF members, office bearers, and others that are not even Zanu PF go to attend. And it was being held in my city. It is customary that if I am invited to events that are held in the city of Harare, I go there. If I'm invited by a Christian, I will go. If I'm invited by a Muslim organization, I will go. If I'm invited by a traditionalist, I will go. And that thing, I has even given a slot to give welcoming remarks, which I did. And I focused on the life of Herbert Chitepo. As you know, Herbert Wiltshire Pumaindini Chitepo is a celebrated son of the soul. He was the first barrister, black barrister of Southern Rhodesia, the first black public prosecutor.
Indeed, I agree with you. He's a respected person, that one. But maybe just to cut short, what did you learn from that workshop? I
learned quite a lot about the framework, that the ideological framework of Zanu PF think tank, what they want to impart onto their membership, values of where the country came from, or the values of the justification of what has happened in the country, the inclusive government, their ideological thinking, that they have a socialist ideology mixed with market elements, that they also abhor corruption as we do in terms of the ideological framing, and also among other things.
You're a seasoned lawyer and a seasoned politician. What would stop you from starting a program of that nature and not necessarily join or go to a Zanu PF organized program and not yours? Because you're a seasoned politician, a seasoned lawyer. What would stop you from starting a program that you would teach about the same ideas that Chitepo believed?
Starting a program without you knowing what others are doing can be the most misleading.
Yeah, but I think that the question now
is... The first thing is what you do is you go into the market. Remember, I was part and parcel of the School of the Morgan Changirai School of Ideology, which was in the MDC. It is also good to understand the Herbert Chitepo Ideological School. And then when we start, like what we've done with the School of Excellence for the City Council, then I can infuse. I know where the Zanu PF councillors are coming from. I know where the Triple C or opposition councils are coming from. I know the areas of convergence and I know the areas of divergence. And as a scholar and as a lawyer, remember, as you rightly said, I am a lawyer. I can equally represent both sides of any argument. I can be a prosecutor, I can be a defense lawyer. I can even be a judge. So sometimes I will learn what prosecutors do, I will learn what defense lawyers do, and I will learn what judges do. But I will remain efficient and remain with the presence of mind to have a critical thought process going forward. I don't see any contradiction.
Your Worship, do you believe that today's Zanu PF is really preserving or following the ideas of the departed Herbert Chitepo?
Well, they are failing in certain aspects, but the stated intention.
But if they are failing, that means you attending that one, then wouldn't have any value in terms of gaining anything, because you know the ideas that Chitepo represented, and you are admitting that Zanu PF is not following those, not preserving those.
No. What one needs to do about value, Zanu PF, in terms of the ruling party, it is part of government. So everything it does is informed by what comes from its instructing body. So therefore, if it is efficient enough to be a government, therefore you cannot think that whatever it does is of no consequence or value. If you think it's of no value, but it has consequence. It has consequence because the minister that superintends city councils comes from the Zanu PF.
Government.
And you need to know what are the instructions in terms of ideological framework that are bringing him into government. And then you can understand some of the things, some of the requests.
What you are saying, Mayor, is very true. But what I think the challenge now is as you can see, we saw your certificate on social media, and there was a Zanu PF national chairman signature and the logo of Zanu. So people are saying at least if it was a government program, they would understand. But now,
an educated person, how many Politburo meetings have you covered? How many Zanu PF rallies have you covered? How many Triple C rallies have you covered? How many workshops of Zanu PF have you gone to?
Many.
Are you Zanu PF?
No, definitely no.
How does Jacob Mafume, a lawyer of 24 years,
but I think the question,
one workshop and is acknowledged by a certificate of attendance, then becomes a conclusion where you agree with me that you have also attended many Zanu PF meetings, you have also attended many Zanu PF rallies. We have all attended. I
think it's the jacket of being an opposition politician.
I'm not an opposition politician. I have a role as a mayor of Harare, and I'm a mayor for everyone. So once you, even if another party were to call me, let's say Monzora calls me and says, come and sit through our process, I'll go and sit through their process. And if I'm given a chance to speak as I did, I then give the side of the story and where I'm coming from. So it is there's an absoluteness in our politics that is self-serving. The politics is not a religion. It's not a purist journey. Just in as much as you'll find out that Donald Trump was at one point registered as a Democrat and got into the president as a president. Then there are Republicans in every country. Look at it now. The
opposition, should they be worried?
The DA is in a cabinet with the ANC.
Exactly.
We, the opposition, was in cabinet with Zanu PF.
You have got many followers, Mayor, countrywide, and including even in your ward. Should they be worried that you might follow the Donald Trump card, waking up in Zanu PF, contesting to become a mayor or the president?
No, they should not be worried. What people should understand is that when I'm given a task just in as much as when a client walks through my door as a lawyer, I will work for the best interest of that client. At this present moment in time, I've taken an oath to work for the best interests of the city of Harare. I will breathe the city of Harare, I will fight for the city of Harare, and I will advocate for the city of Harare issues in keeping with the oath of office I have taken. And that is why I'm following every money that ought to come to city of Harare. I make no apologies for roads being done in the city of Harare. I make no apologies for all the money that I ask for the water for the city of Harare. I'll make no apologies as we sit right now. And I want to assure the residents of Harare that in everything that I do, in all that I need to do, I will be advocating for a better service delivery for the citizens.
Let's go to the last section. We want to conclude this. The Zimbabwean 2023 elections. What is your brief reflections? Or what are your brief reflections, rather?
They're done. We went through the elections. They produced the result that they did. We needed to think after the election. It is an indictment on the opposition that across South Africa, parties that got 23%, 1% or 2% are in government. Whereas here we got 44% and we could not leverage that huge percentage to get into government so that we could bring relief.
We should shoulder that blame. We should shoulder
the opposition. We should shoulder the blame. I'm taking the blame. I was part of the leadership of the opposition at that particular time. And you get 44% according to the ZEC results. We believe we got more. But even if we go with the results that were released by ZEC, I have a feeling that we ought to have gotten more out of it. When the roles were reversed, when we got 47% and 41% Zanu PF, they managed to wriggle themselves into government. But when the roles were reversed, we could not be sufficiently strategic enough to be able to do so. And I believe that there was a failure in planning by our part, and therefore we are now stuck in a quagmire where we are trying to recreate the context of 2023, but it's no longer possible. The president is now the chair of SADC. SADC has gone on.
Have you congratulated him?
Yes, I have. I congratulated him at the parliament. I congratulate him at the finish of that. I mean, just in as much as they congratulate me or acknowledge me when I attend national events.
Just for interest's sake, what value does Zimbabwe get, or Zimbabweans, ordinary Zimbabweans get from Zimbabwe having the SADC chairmanship?
Well, as I told you, I speak for the citizens of Harare. The eastern and western side roads have improved. People are driving fast to work and efficiently. I've got the ambience of Harare improved. I got 500,000 from the ministry for our water. I'm going to get 2.5 million for our water. There are benefits. I'm trying to rake my head right now to think of what other conference can Harare host.
Yeah, let's maintain.
People can benefit.
Yeah, let's maintain this 2023 election, the state of the opposition. What did you feel when Nelson Chamisa resigned as the CC president?
Well, I really felt sad. As far as I was concerned, it is not the end that we envisioned. Chamisa is my generation, and our stated objective was to then be able to be in government, contribute to our people in our various capacities. Maybe I as mayor, him as the president of the country, or if he, God willing, he appoints me as a minister. It's like when you wanted to become a doctor and you resign midway a master's thesis. It's always a
sad moment.
Always a sad moment.
Did you talk to him?
Not tragic. Yes, I did. I met him. I phoned him. He didn't bring me into his confidence.
What was his response?
His resignation. That's what I'm going to. He did not bring me into his confidence. And when we spoke, it was a matter of fact issue, and his stated wish was to say that we must always remain cordial, we must always remain friends in our various endeavors going forward. His family, as far as we are concerned in terms of generational and growing up. And it is an indictment.
How would you respond, Mayor, to people who are saying you backstabbed him after using his image to get to council in 2023?
Well,
by way of joining the Chavangu crews and the Welshman faction?
What is backstabbing? We went into an election, which was what we call a harmonized election. He was running for president, and we were running for the various elections that were there. He was the face of our movement, as chosen by everybody to be the face of the movement. It really is a dangerous argument for body parts to argue with themselves. You know, sometimes the face attracts the woman, but the one that then ensures there's birth might not necessarily be the face. And it will be a dangerous argument to say which was important than the other. We believe that we were a party, each and every member, right to the person at the shop floor. That person who gets beaten by Zanu PF activists, that person who
but
gets
would you
into
dispute?
jail,
would you dispute someone says?
equally important.
Would you dispute someone who would say if you had contested alone, maybe as an independent or belonging to a certain political party, you wouldn't have won?
Well, the question goes to him as well, to everyone contesting. If he had contested as an independent, would he have won? No one in the setup, from president to councillor, if they had contested as independent, would have won. Why do you ask that question? Did he contest as an independent? No. Did anyone in our setup contest as an independent? Why should you ask me such a redundant question?
I know, Mayor, that might be redundant, but we know quite a number of very senior and reputable people who contested not with Nelson Chamisa's face and failed. I'll give you an example of Jacob Mafume. She did it in 2018. You know, Fadzai Mahere. She did it in 2018 and failed to win. But
Yes,
the moment now Nelson Chamisa was behind their contest, they won, and they won overwhelmingly.
Yes, but I'm saying everyone in the opposition, there's never been a presidential candidate who has contested as an independent and won. Yeah. Okay, it would be a relevant, logical conclusion if he had contested as an independent and won. So how do you ask something that is relevant to every one of us? My brother, if you contest as president in Zimbabwe as an independent, would you win? I'm asking. Would someone win if they contested for the presidential election as independent? They won't. If you contested for Senate as president, as an independent, would you win? You won't. You won't even get on the ballot because our law does not favor independence for proportional representation. If you contest as MP, as independent, will you win?
So
sometimes, sometimes
maybe for interest sake, let's remove.
Let me disaggregate it further. Sometimes we've had incidences where people have won MP and councillor as independents.
Amen.
Well, I don't know, but
I know Jonathan Moyo and Temba Bliswa.
So I'm saying, people who have won as independents for MP and councillor, but we don't know anyone who has won as president or Senate or proportional as an independent. So how do we then come to illogical premises and illogical conclusions? No one in our electoral setups, right from the president to the councillor.
When did you last speak to Nelson Chamisa?
A while ago at the British Embassy.
Okay, what was the kind of conversation that we were having?
We greeted each other, asked about our families, and
it ended there.
Yeah, and spoke a little bit about family, his family.
Just in brief, Mayor, how, to the best of your knowledge, how did the Chavangu faction came about, or that Chavangu as a figure came about? after you had won, I think you had blocked Zanu PF from winning 2/3 majority in the election.
Politics happens. Politics is not stuck in a vacuum as you move forward. The elections are part and parcel of politics, but it's not a picture. Politics is an organic thing. That is why you see now Julius Malema does not have Floyd after winning his percentage. Floyd is now the organizer of MK, and a number of EF parliamentarians have gone back to parliament as MK. There is a belief in Zimbabwe that politics freezes itself. It does not. It changes. You cannot keep politics static. So there are certain things that you have to protect. A constitution.
But how did Chawang come?
We didn't have a constitution.
How did Chawang come into the picture?
Because we didn't have a constitution. We didn't have an institution. We had an amorphous organization, and when he attacked, we were unable to defend ourselves.
If you address that now?
We are seeking to address that now. We want to.
So you're still vulnerable?
We are still vulnerable as a party. We need to unlearn what we learned in the last 10 years. The deconstruction of the opposition as an institution and as a constitutional movement. It didn't happen overnight.
But do you regret what he did? What Chawang did?
What do you mean, do I regret?
Like, we know the recalls that he was doing. Do you regret those recalls?
Well, every recall is regrettable. It affects people, it affects the voter. I mean, then you lose certain seats, and then you create stress in the body politic. I mean, what's there not to regret?
But do you see any future, the opposition rising to the levels that it did?
It is always there. There's always opposition in Zimbabwe.
But it's disintegrated now.
The leadership is incoherent.
Otherwise, people are clear.
The people are clear. There's always been
what are they saying?
Opposition. They want a better life. They want change in the country. They want a strong economy. They want to live well. They want an economy with opportunities. How does that get destroyed? Because that is a basic human need. And if they feel they are not getting it in Zanu PF, they are not getting it from me as a mayor, they will always be opposed to what I am doing, because it is not what they want. So you cannot get rid, or you cannot confuse yourself as leadership, enter into disagreements, and then believe everyone else is now hopeless. Life goes on.
When you meet Singers Chawang or President Welshman Ncube, what would you like to tell them about their silence in terms of the human rights crackdown that we saw in the run-up to the SADC summit?
They were not. I don't think they were silent.
We didn't see them condemning the human rights violations.
What Welshman is a human rights activist. He has represented many lawyers right from the elections. It would be a mischaracterization of Professor Welshman Ncube
not to defend.
Yeah, they've been fighting even more heinous crimes during Kukura, and even before some of us were even fighting. I think let us not minimize each other's contributions at a given time, depending on the context, isn't it? I know Professor Welshman Ncube, and he taught me, and he taught many of the lawyers that are working in the human rights field. He's a quintessentially human rights activist. We might differ with him on politics, but we cannot differ or mischaracterize his credentials to the effect that he is now silent on human rights abuse that would be preposterous, unfair, and unwarranted against a person who actually was part of the authors of these human rights that we are prosecuting. You know, he was one of the writers of the Constitution, particularly focusing on human rights.
Lastly, Your Worship, you will receive a windfall very soon from the government under the political party's finance.
Who said that?
No, the money is coming. The political party's finance is coming.
I have no.
Whether it's coming in next year, but at some point it's definitely coming.
I have no money that I know which is coming to me.
Okay.
As a windfall.
No, I'm not referring to you. I'm saying as a party. As a party.
Honestly,
but
I'm not aware.
you're not aware that you're supposed to receive
I'm not.
funds
We know
under
we are
the...
supposed to receive money in our various formations, but that money since the last time and even now has not come.
It has not come. Okay, no, that's fine, Mayor. Because the question I was having is, there are some workers in the CCC in your party.
The money has not come.
We haven't been...
can end up arguing about those two guys who said when they will pick up a quarter to buy a half bread, who will eat the side that is coming.